There's a lot to digital marketing, and when I talk to business owners, whether it's law firms or other types of business owners, typically I encounter confusion. They don't know what works. They don't know why it worked, even if it did work. There's a lot of hearsay, and there's a lot of information on the web that can be misleading. And so in my podcast, I try to just make things clear, and I try to make things really easy for people. And today what I want to do is talk about the 7 essential digital marketing tactics for law firms. And I'm choosing law firms because I've worked with a lot of law firms over the years, and I just want to help law firms get some clarity around digital marketing. What are things that works? What are the main things that you need to focus on and things like that? And so I've narrowed it down to 7 essential digital marketing tactics, and I'm going to share that with you today. I'm going to share the first 3. It's a lot longer than I had anticipated, and so I'm going to break this up into 3 episodes. And in the first episode, I'm going to talk about 3 things: website, claimed location pages, and reviews. And then in the second episode, I'm going to talk about content marketing and email newsletters. And then I'm going to talk about social media and paid media in the third episode. So with that, let's get started with the first episode. Welcome to the latest episode of Corner Your Market. Now I'm also on YouTube. I'm your host, Sailes Gimide. In this podcast, I talk about all things digital marketing, from website design and development to SEO and PPC, as well as paid advertising, email marketing, social media, and anything in between. If you're a small business owner, a marketing manager in a company, or an entrepreneur, this podcast is for you. So tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. You'll gain some practical insights, new strategies, tactics, and tools that will help you grow your business. To subscribe, go to corneryourmarketpodcast.com and select the podcast app of your choice, or on YouTube, you can just hit the subscribe button at the bottom of your screen. Then you can hit the subscribe button within those apps for the podcast. That again is corneryourmarketpodcast.com. Also, don't forget to like and share these individual episodes so you can leave a review in the app and also leave a comment on YouTube. So let's get started on the 7 essential digital marketing tactics for law firms. The first one is website. Website is very important. It's like a beachhead. When I talk to attorneys, I always describe it this way. It's kind of like, think of D-Day, right? You're attacking and you need a beachhead. You land on Normandy, and that's your beachhead, right? So you need to make sure that beachhead is secure. It's your jump off point to continental Europe to attack and to gain, territory back, right? So I know this analogy it breaks down after a little bit, but still, I think you get the point. But anyway, the website is very, very important. And a lot of times, when I just had this happen to me just a week ago, attorney calls me and says, "Hey, can you take a look at my website?" Right? And I go to the website. The domain from the very beginning is just weird. It's like it's forwarding to different things that it shouldn't forward to. I don't know who did the website, but it's with a provider. It's one of those big box providers. And obviously he didn't get the service that he thought he was going to get. So he spent some money on this thing. Now, I'm not going to recommend that he redo his website. I think I can take what he has and I can basically put it into a platform on WordPress and make it really better for him. But you just can't neglect your website. And a lot of times people will just think about what the website looks like, right? They're not really thinking about the back end either. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So the first thing is, you need your website to be user-friendly. The design needs to be clean. It needs to be simple. It needs to be intuitive. It needs users to be able to navigate through and find the information that they need right away, right? It needs to have the responsive design. It's got to be mobile optimized, because I know 70% of traffic right now online comes from a mobile device. So that's a lot of people. In fact, it's higher the younger you go. So it's got to be mobile intuitive. It's got to be mobile optimized. And I'm still surprised in this day and age in almost the mid 2020s. We're almost at the mid 2020 mark, believe it or not. In the mid 2020s, we still have companies that are not paying attention to their website on a mobile device. I just can't fathom why you wouldn't do that. So user-friendly design, right? The next thing on a website that you need to have is quality content. Not just content about you, it's great, content about you, but what is it that you're providing? So as an attorney, you need to make sure that you have pages that talks about the different areas of law you focus on. If you're a estate attorney, you got to have stuff on probate. You got to have stuff on, your estate planning process, local nuances. So if you're in Arizona, you're in Utah, you're in California, there's local laws that might impact the content that you put in there. If you're a DUI attorney, you need to put some information in there that basically, talks about, why your DUI approach is better than the other guy's DUI approach or something like that. So you got to keep this content so that it's engaged. It's engaging to people. It's well written, and it hits it kind of jives with your target audience. The third thing on a website is fast load times. 2 seconds, folks. 2 seconds. If a site takes more than 2 seconds to load, you're kind of in, no man's land at that point. You're in, the danger zone. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a singer, but I think there was a song in the 80s called The Danger Zone. I don't remember that song. I was just coming up here in my head. But fast load times, very important. And one way to test this is go to a McDonald's, use their free Wi-Fi, or go to Starbucks, use their free Wi-Fi, pull up a website in incognito mode on your phone, and then just go to your website. See how long it takes to load. This way, you're kind of isolating if it's already been loaded on your phone before, it's going to be fast, obviously. So you need to go where it hasn't been loaded before, different location, so they all know that you're not coming from the same spot. So fast load times. And there's a lot of ways you can, measure that. There's tools out there that allows you to measure the time that it takes for your website to pop up. And Google has a developer tool that allows you to do that. There's a couple other ones. There's pingdom.com. There's a few others that you could probably just Google and find. But whatever you do use 2 or 3 tools, because my experience has been that if you just use one, they're going to try to push things that maybe, especially if it's a free tool, they might be pushing you towards their product. And I find Google's developer tools to be too nuanced. They're just nitpicky. I've had sites load at 1.8 seconds. I go to Google developer tools and it gives me a long list of things I need to fix. I'm like, what? I don't know, man. Anyway, so fast load times. And then the other thing on your website that's really important is a call to action, right? So something that resonates with your user. I know for attorneys, free consultation is used, but it's also overused. So maybe you can think of something else, maybe a free case review or a free assessment or something like that. I know for some of the injury attorneys, a strong call to action is free case review. And then also, you don't pay until we win or unless we win or something like that, to that effect. I guess that's more of an offer, but still a strong call to action, right? So the idea here is, look, we know you're great, right? We know you're a great law firm. We know that you've won cases. We know that you've done a great job for your clients. But for somebody coming in fresh, they're going to need to, have some reason to kind of connect with you. So think about what that could be. Like I said, free consultation is overused. However, a case review or something like that could probably be a better call to action there. Make sure that you strategically place those call to actions on your homepage. The upper right button on the desktop, maybe on the mobile, it's at the very top, and maybe it's sticky menu, meaning it sticks when you're scrolling. But anyway, so regardless, that's important. And then another thing is security and credibility. HTTPS is a given, but I have had attorney websites where I've gone, and not only do they not have HTTPS, but also weird things happen when you go to different pages. You know, I've had one guy, he was wondering why he was not getting business. I went to his website. The homepage was fine. I click on a page and it goes to another page and it's got a 503 security warning. I'm like, that's just a server not working well. So something was messed up on the back end. He didn't know about it. And here he is wondering, you know, why he's not getting business from his website. So periodically check your website, periodically go on there, see if there's anything that's not working. But security and credibility is huge. I guess that's security. On the credibility side, I know you probably, if you've been quoted in different articles, if you've got, top 10 attorney awards, if you've been recognized by your peers, if you've got anything like that, put that on your website. Maybe not front and center, but maybe have a banner at the bottom. We do that for a lot of our clients is if they have attorney, a good, like we have one attorney, every year he seems to win some award as being the best attorney in town or something like that from different publications. So we've got a whole like 7 or 8 trophies or something like that. That's just to kind of put in there so that way there's credibility there, right? So their security and credibility is very important as well. So that's all on the website, folks. Now, the second part, and remember, we're talking about the 7 essentials, right? So the first essential we just talked about is the website. The second essential is the location pages, okay? And now what I mean by location pages is if you go to Google and you do a search for your brand and there's a sidebar that shows up on the right-hand side and that is the location page. All of the major search engines and directory listings like Bing, Apple, Facebook have location pages. You got to claim those, which I think a lot of people already have. But where it gets tricky is you have to make sure that your name, address, and phone, the NAP as we call it in the industry, there is NAP consistency across Google, Bing, Apple, Facebook, and any other directory service that you are listed in. Very, very important for SEO, especially when they're trying to determine how reputable you are and what your domain authority is, right? So the NAP consistency across all business listings is very important. And what I mean by that is some attorney firms put PLC after their firm, some don't, or on Google they have it, on Bing they don't, that kind of stuff. Another one is 123 East Main Street is your location. Sometimes you're spelling East, sometimes you're not spelling East. You're just putting E. Those things matter. If you're on, Jefferson Drive, and then you're just dropping off the drive, and you're just putting Jefferson, 123 East Jefferson, and you're just saying Jefferson versus Jefferson Drive or Boulevard. Those details matter. So decide what you're going to do. Obviously, it's got to be consistent so that you get mail there. So you don't want to make it too short where you're dropping things off and you don't get mail all of a sudden. But you do need to have that consistency. I guess the phone number is also an issue too. Sometimes, especially as attorney firms have grown, maybe as they started out, they put the main attorney's phone number, and then as they grew, they got an office, they got a paralegal, they got all these forms, and now that phone number is still floating around, right? So keep the phone number consistent as well, and that should keep it good. The second thing when you have to look on this is complete and accurate business. Basically, business information needs to be complete. Fill out all the details. Don't leave any box. If they say additional information, give them additional information. Just even if it's repetitive information, just give them more information than less information. Put down the right category. Put all the stuff that you want in there. It just builds credibility across the board. Professional photos and videos. That's also very important on these location pages, to be honest with you. You can add photos of your office. You can add photos of your team. You can add photos of maybe you meeting with the client, something like that. A video is not a bad idea. Maybe an introductory video about yourself, about your firm. So basically, what can customers expect when they come to your business, right? Come to your practice. And something new that is also available on the Google My Business side is you can actually post snippets of your blogs or your updates and things like that on there as well. It just kind of keeps your page fresh and keeps it going. So yeah, that's a good one. Now the main one here is reviews, and the main question is where do you focus on? And I have a whole section on reviews, so I'm not going to skip ahead here. And then monitoring and engagement is also very important. Actively monitoring your messages. What are people posting? Some of these services also allows people to post their stuff as well. So monitor it. See what you want to keep. See what you don't want to keep. Just keep an eye on it. It's not a set it and forget it kind of thing, right? So again, the second essential thing is claiming your location page. Make sure at least minimum you have it claimed on Google, you have it claimed on Bing, you have it claimed on Apple, and you have it claimed on Facebook. A lot of people are neglecting Apple. We've been doing that a lot for our clients. They say, "Oh, we got it on Google." Well, think of how many people use Apple Maps. CarPlay. You know what I mean? People get on in their cars and they're trying to find your firm to come meet you, and it's defaulting to Apple, and the information is not accurate. So that's also important. Bing is important because the data from Bing gets pulled into, I think, Facebook or maybe Yelp or one of those other places. I forget. But yeah, so that's the claim listing thing, right? Now, the third essential thing is your reviews. And this one is going to be, first of all, do a good job. As long as your clients are happy, you're going to get good reviews, right? So a lot of times people will ask me, how do I get good reviews? And my answer is always like, well, do a good job for your clients, you'll get good reviews, right? So I can't solve that problem for you. What I can solve for you is how do you get it? How do you manage it? How do you respond to it? And all that kind of stuff, right? So the first thing that I would tell you is ask for reviews. I am surprised by how many people do not ask for reviews. People will come in and say, "Hey, I'm not getting any reviews." And I'll say, "Well, have you asked for reviews?" You personally asking for a review as the attorney is much more powerful than your office manager asking or somebody asking by email or your paralegal asking or something like that, right? So just make it a part of your process. Maybe once the file closes, maybe once, the verdict is in, or maybe once the check is in, or whatever the situation is, whatever your process is in terms of when you close out your case, that's a good time to go and ask for a review. Obviously, if you feel like you haven't really met their expectations or something like that, maybe you don't ask for a review in that situation. But you never know. I mean, you got to have a good feel for your client. You want to ask him, you can also give them a little bit of pointers, right? So just having them go and leave a 5-star, just clicking the 5-star button and then saying attorney was nice. It's a review, but it's not a great review, right? What you want to do is maybe help them say, hey, I know we've worked on this case together. It's been great working with you. I think we got what we wanted for you. I know you're very happy with this situation. I'd like to ask you to go to my webpage or my Google page, and I want you to leave a review and mention maybe, the type of service you got from me, the type of ways in which I helped you and things like that. So you can kind of lead them on a little bit that way and give them some ideas. So that way they're not just thinking about, well, I want to write a review for this guy, but I just don't know what to say, right? So, and I know in some situations it doesn't work. Like maybe for a DUI case, people don't want, hey, this guy, got me 3 weeks off my jail time, maybe that's not what you want, what people are going to want to say. Or maybe you're a family attorney, divorce situation. Maybe that's not a situation where they can give too much details, but you're going to know your clients, so you can kind of coach them accordingly and then and then kind of ask them for those reviews, right? Now, the question is, where do you get those reviews? There's a lot of places people can go to reviews. Google, Facebook, Yelp is also big. But when it comes to attorneys, I tell people focus on Google. Facebook, maybe you want to maybe keep an eye on that. Don't let it be, like not have any reviews. Maybe you have maybe 10, 15 reviews on Facebook, and then maybe every couple of months you have one or two or something like that. But your primary focus should be Google. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is those reviews go into your search consideration, right? Your SEO gets boosted when you have Google reviews. It's just known. So it helps you with your SEO. And then the second thing is eyeballs, man. There's just more eyeballs on Google than on Yelp. There just is. And especially when it comes to attorneys, they're not going to Yelp or going to Facebook, right? So if somebody's looking for an attorney, they're going to Google, they're finding you, and that's where they're reading their reviews. And Google has a whole bunch of articles and documentation on how people engage with reviews, what they do on reviews, and what kind of reviews are good. So check that out as well if you want more information on that. But Facebook, though, for certain categories, I have noticed for like maybe estate planning attorneys or attorneys that work with maybe older people, the older demographic, Facebook is a place where the over 65 crowd is, or maybe the over 50 crowd is. So having a good set of reviews on Facebook is not a bad idea depending on the type of attorney firm that you have as well. So yeah. So, and then of course there's other ones too, right? There's attorney specific sites where you can have reviews set up and things like that. It's not a bad idea to go in there, at least have your profile and at least have one or two reviews there as well. When it comes to reviews, my feedback to you is respond and thank. Respond and thank, right? Even if it's a bad review, thank them for the review, taking the time, address it, and then respond to it. And obviously, we're attorneys, right? We know we're not going to engage them in a review thread. I don't think people do that anymore. I think there's been a little bit of businesses are starting to understand that. Even if it's a bad review, right? I mean, we had one situation for one attorney. She didn't get enough on the estate or whatever it was, or the will. And so she went online and left a nasty review to the attorney. I'm like, well, first of all, she's not a client of yours, so you can dispute that, right? You can actually open a ticket with Google and you can say, hey, this is not a client. We're a law firm. We keep very accurate records of who our clients are and who are not our clients. This is not a client. And you could even mention this is a family member of our client and she's obviously not happy, or he's not very happy, right? So you could dispute those reviews that way. I wouldn't say I've had 100% success, because I do a really good job filtering if I have clients that'll call me and say, this is a bad review. Can you help me get it off? I'll read it and I'll give them objective feedback, because I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time, right? But the ones that I have determined to be worthy of being removed, I've been able to get removed. But if I feel like I can't get it removed, I'm not even going to try, because I know what their rules are. I know what they're looking for. Unless you can validate, unless it's a medical situation or a situation like the one I just described, it's really difficult to get a review removed from Google or any of these platforms for that matter. So the best approach is, look, most people, when they see a review, when they see, if you've got 35 reviews and all 35 are 5-star, most people are smart. They're going to say, okay, you know what? He's obviously, or she's obviously doing something to get a 100% rating. Because look, we're not all perfect, right? We're going to have a bad apple in there somewhere, or an upset apple. So if you have 35 reviews and you have one bad review, hey, that just shows that your review strategy is authentic. That's just my opinion. You might disagree. Others might disagree, but that's just my opinion, right? But regardless, even if it's a negative review, find a way to respond in a positive way, and find a way to respond in a way in which, you try to take the conversation offline, one-on-one situation. And then when you have that and you resolve it, then maybe that person can go back and take the review down, or maybe they can respond to your response and say, thank you so much. Really appreciated you taking the time to address my concerns. I'm glad we had this conversation. You're a great law firm, something like that. So there's ways to kind of diffuse those kind of situations. So if you have any questions on that, just feel free to leave a comment or send me an email through my website, cornermarketpodcast.com. And I'm happy to help with that as well, because that one is a tough one, because I feel for both firms as well as for the client side as well. And sometimes I feel like the platforms are the bad guys. Anyway, I don't want to get sued by anybody, so I don't want to say anything about those platforms. But anyway, the other thing is positive reviews. You might feel like you don't have to respond to it, but even if it's a canned response, maybe type up 7 or 8 different versions of a canned response, copy paste it in there, man. Say something like, hey, glad glad I had an opportunity to work with you. Glad I was able to help you. Thank you very much for your positive and kind words. Leave it at that, but respond. What that does is it just builds like a text library of things for Google to scan, right? So it's really good to do that as well. So another thing that people have come to me asking about is, how do I incentivize to get reviews? I'm not a huge fan of incentivizing, monetary incentivizing, that is. It doesn't seem to work as well. But if it's something that you need to do to kind of get going, you could mention it in your email that you send out, or the phone conversation. Hey, if you leave a review, we'll send you I got a $7 gift card once for just to kind of show you the inflation nowadays, right? Not that this is a show on inflation, but I used to get $5 gift cards for people. I used to get them from people for reviews, but now I got a $7 one. Incentives do work, maybe in a situation where maybe you've received, sometimes the ones that you've had bad experiences with are the ones that are the loudest, right? So you could be in a situation where you've gotten a series of negative reviews. And not because you did a bad job or anything like that, because we are dealing with law cases where they may not know that it was your fault. Maybe the judge came down harsh on them, or maybe something like that, or maybe it was a bad day, or whatever the situation is. So you have a series of bad reviews, and you need to kind of go back to your clients that you had a really good time with or good experience with, and maybe you need to incentivize them and have them write you a good review. So incentivizing can work. I'm not a huge fan of it necessarily, but it can work as well. And I think I mentioned this already, multi-channel. Google My Business is the best one to start with, but then you can also get on Facebook, and then maybe some attorney-specific listing pages where you can get reviews and things like that. But make it easy for your clients to leave a review. Send them the link to your page. Make it very, very easy. Test it out. Make sure those links work. Those little details makes a big difference, because everybody's busy. Nobody has time to go out of their way to find your page, to find your thing, and then leave a review, right? So give them very, very clear instructions. Give them good links and all that kind of stuff. So with that, we wrap up this episode, this first part on the 7 essential digital marketing tactics for law firms. In this episode, we talked about your website as the beachhead. We talked about your location pages, as well as getting reviews. And so with that, I'm going to close this episode out. And then in the next episode, I am going to talk about SEO, content marketing. I kind of grouped that together. And then I'm also going to talk about email newsletters. So with that, thanks for joining me. It was a pleasure to have you on. Don't forget to like and share, and leave me a comment if you wanna give me any feedback. And also feel free to send me an email if you have anything that you want to share with me that way. Until next time, happy marketing, folks.